Baruch Hashem, this is a world that's filled with people who I love, those who I know and those who I don't know. Rav Judah, Rav Willig, and Rav Bezriel, Rav Shmuel, and this whole planet, Hask, Chesed, of caring, of giving, of doing. So many of my nieces, nephews, students, my son-in-law have had the zchus to be in this Makom Kodesh. It's a place of healing. It's a place of happiness. It's a place of caring. It's a place where you're giving to others, and in very deep and mysterious ways, they're giving more to you than you're giving to them. And you all know that. So this is not an effort for me to come here. This is a zchus, and I look forward to this every year. And it's been a very, very difficult year. It's been a hard year. Rav Judah mentioned the time that we're in. Ben HaMetzarim. Last week was Shabbos Tammuz, Shvius HaLuchos, the breaking of the Luchos. There's so many hearts that have been broken this year. Homes shattered by fathers who didn't return, children who didn't return, brothers, sisters who are now in the other world or in the underworld in Gaza someplace. From Shmini Atzeres, which a day hasn't gone by that I haven't thought about when one of the Chaverim came from the security guys in shul to talk to me, to tell me what they had heard. Shmini Atzeres is Yom HaYichud. It's a day. So those of you learn the Svarim over here, you know that Shmini Atzeres in certain ways is the highest day of the year. It's after the whole El, really beginning Nachem, Tuba, Ve'elul, Slichas, Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, Sukkot, Hashanah Rabbah. It's all to bring to that Yichud, that Chasam Kala of Shmini Atzeres, and the Vikudim of Shmini Atzeres of Simchas Torah. It's the highest time of Ata B'chatanu, Ahavta Yisanu, Retzisa Banu, of Hashem's most love, of Ahavas Olam, Ahavtich. It's the highest time of the year. And the walls were violated. Hufka ha'ir. It wasn't Yerushalayim, it was south of Yerushalayim. But the borders, the walls were breached. And the luchos were broken. Now there are many chavra who have spent countless hours watching every clip, waiting for every bit of news. We heard some good news. There was a big Russia that was removed from the world yesterday, the day before. And spend the whole year sitting around telephones, and there's no question it's a very big inyan to empathize, to feel the pain of other Jews, and to follow and to see and to try to, in some way, to be there with them. But long ago, there was a time that David HaMelech, there were many times, but there's one pasuk in particular that's heartbreaking. David HaMelech said the words, Keli, Keli, lama zaftani. Keli, Keli, my God, lama zaftani. And David HaMelech felt lost, and he felt that he was abandoned. And in the parish of Rab Shamshval Herzeg Tzadiv Kosh and Tillim, so there Rab Shamshval Her says that we have to read those words differently. And we believe that David HaMelech also meant them this way. Rav Hirsch said, read the words, Keli, Keli, Lema Azavtani. Not Lama. Lama means why. We never really have satisfying answer to the question of why. We really don't know. I grew up in a home, my parents survived the Holocaust. And they taught me not to ask why. And they didn't ask why. Lama Azaftani, why did this happen? How could this have happened? They didn't ask that. There were survivors that never stopped asking that, and those who did weren't really able to survive. So Rab Shamshval Her says that Lama is Lama Azaftani. Lama Azaftani means, I'm not asking you why did it happen. Why did that happen? Shmini Atzeres. Why did it happen? All I'm asking you, Rabban Shalom, is Lema Azaftani. Lema, Rav Hirsch says, it happened. For whatever reason, we trust you, we believe in you. But what do you want of me now? Lema Azaftani. Now that I've been left in this situation, what am I to do? What do you ask of me? The Rebbe Shalom is asking something from us. It's hard to understand him. What is it that he's asking? Lema Azaftani. And David HaMelech's son, Shlomo HaMelech, in Koheles, Shlomo tells us, he speaks of the 28 itim, 28 times. Eis lehoiv, eis lisnoi, eis lezroi, eis lerkonatua. There's a time to love, there's a time to hate. And there's a time that's called Eis Milchama. It's a time of war. And the time that we're living in right now is an Eis Milchama. And that means that the Rebbe Shalom is saying to each and every one of us, every single Jewish man and woman, if you want to understand, what are you asking of me? What do you want me to do? It's not enough to listen to the news. It's not enough to empathize. I've watched throughout this year, besides the actual soldiers on the front, the great Gibarim, the heroes in Eretz Yisrael, I've watched so many heroic people in Woodmere, in the 5 towns, in Muncie, in different places of the world, all over. Heroic people who who heard Hashem calling to them and saying, stop sitting around and watching the news. Lama azaftani, get up and do something. Because if it's an Eis Milchama, if it's a time of war, it makes no difference what your background is. It makes no difference if you're a Sfaradi, you're an Ashkenazi, you're a Chassid, you're a Litvak, you call yourself Marvin, you call yourself this or that. It makes no difference, all those titles. I heard from one of my Rebbeim, who heard from the Chavetz Chaim, that the Chavetz Chaim, there was somebody that came to Chavetz Chaim, was talking to Chavetz Chaim about different shittas, the Chassidim and the Misnagdim, and the Chavetz Chaim said to him, in Shemayim they don't care about shittas. In Shemayim they care about this. There are three types of Jews: hot, warm, and cold. That's what the Chavetz Chaim said. They're hot, warm, and cold. So this past year, this Eis Milchama, it's still going on. It's a pachad right now in Eretz Yisrael, a pachad. During this Eis Milchama, Hashem Yisbarach is asking each and every one of His Jews, regardless of what the background is, Hashem Yisbarach is asking each one of us to be chayalim, to fight in the war. To fight in the war. This is Am Yisrael's war. This is Am Yisrael's war. Every Jew in the world. Now, the same way I said to you before, that we don't know why. We don't understand why. If you're a soldier, your job is not to try to understand the bigger picture of how this war is being fought, of why this war had to take place. That's not what a soldier does. One type of soldier is assigned with a couple other chevra that they have to clean out this neighborhood. They have to get out all of the Rishayim, all of the Saini Yisrael, all of the murderers have to be cleaned out from this block. And those chevra go to that block and they risk their lives every step. It's crazy, booby-trapped, and Rishayim shooting from the windows and from under and from on top. And the job of those soldiers, those chayalim have a tafkid. Because a chayal is a person who feels that he has a job. His inyan is not how the war is going to be fought, how to win. His job right now is to take care of this block, of this building. Zat tafkid shelo, zot ha-misima shelo. That's his job, that's his objective. There's another guy who's a medic, and his job is to be out there and to bandage people, the people that need help. And there's another guy that's in the place, he's waiting with some food that he's preparing, so when the guys come back, they'll have something to eat. Because that's the definition of a chayal, of a soldier, is a person who accepts responsibility, doesn't ask, why do I have to go there? Why do I have to do this? How does this affect the milchama? Are we winning the milchama? That's not the avodah of the chayal. When there's a milchama, the job of the chayal, of the soldier, a guy or a girl, whatever, it's the job of the chayal to be completely focused on what he has to do and what she has to do, and to carry it out with Mesiras Nefesh. And to know and to believe that every single step that he's taking, whether it's in the booby-trap building or whether it's a guy that's preparing some supper for the soldiers coming back, every single step is Laman Chilukim Chai. Every single step is saturated with the Ahavas Yisrael. Every single step is saturated with V'nikdashti, with V'alecha Haragnu Kol Hayom. Therefore we have, each one of us, We have to be soldiers. You know, long ago, Yaakov Avinu fought with the Sour Shel Esav. And you know that because of that little milchama, it wasn't so little, because the Gemara says in Chulin that the avak, the dust, went up to the Kisei HaKavod. It was a big milchama. And that's the milchama till Alois HaShachar, till the end of time. And the Torah says that because of that, we're called Bnei Yisrael, right? Because the pasuk says, "Do yemer Shimcha Yaakov Kim Yisrael, Ki Sarisim L'Kim V'Manoshim Atuchal." Your name is not going to be Yaakov anymore. Lo Yaakov Ye'omar Oit Shimcha Kim Yisrael. You're not going to be called Yaakov anymore. You're going to be called Yisrael. Why? Ki Sarisa Im L'Kim V'Manoshim Atuchal. Because you have fought with angels and you have fought with people, whatever. And Vatuchal means, and you have been victorious. So there was a great tzaddik, Reb Leib Leger. You heard of Reb Leib Leger? Schusi Elaine. Reb Akiva Eger's grandson, Reb Shlomo Leger's son. So Reb Leib Leger has Svarim Toras Emes Yimei Emes. If you're free for the next couple of centuries, you should take a look at them. The Svarim of Reb Leib Leger. So Reb Leib Leger, Schusi Elaine says, he asks a very good question. The question is, why are we really called Bnei Yisrael? We should be called Bnei Tuchal. That sounds weird. We should be called Bnei Tuchal because the pasuk says at the end, when it says in the pasuk, that Tuchal means you were victorious. So Reb Leger asks, why be called Bnei Yisrael? Yisrael means to fight. Kisarisa. Kisarisa means to fight. Shouldn't we be called Bnei Tuchal, or maybe make it nice, a Michal or something? But shouldn't we be called those who are victorious? So Reb Leibler says, the union of being victorious is something which is bechlal not in the hands of a human being. Victory, nitzachen, is something which is the Baruch Shalom's business. The outcome, what happens, that's the Baruch Shalom's business. Just like each one of you that's helping Chevra over here, it's helping kids over here, and doing whatever your job is, you don't know in the end what's going to be with each one of these people. You don't know where they're going to end up. You don't know what's going to be in their lives. Maybe you'll be able to stay in touch with some of them, but you don't know the Vatuchal. You don't know whether or not you're going to be Minat Sayach, whether there was some sort of a victory that took place in the summer of Tavshin Pedal. You don't know that the outcome of what you're doing. You don't know. The outcome is Hashabbos. So Leibler says, we're not called Bnei Tuchal because that's not our inyan. Our inyan is Bnei Yisrael. And Bnei Yisrael means Kisarisa, means to fight. It means to be a chayal. It means to be a person that's single-minded, dedicated, devoted, whether it's making meals, whether it's tying tzitzis, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's with a Tehillim, with that kid that you were given, that you were assigned to take care of, a Ben Yisrael, a Bas Yisrael is a fighter. I was thinking that's why in davening, in Tillim, we say the capital Tillim in davening, and I'm not saying Mizmul Adov, Yanchash V'yam Tzara, so we say Hema Korv Nafalu, V'nachnu Kamnu V'nisaydat, right? Hey, Makarv Nafol, our enemies, Karv Nafol, they fell down. Nafol, they're broken, they fell down. V'nachnu kamnu v'nisoidan. We got up and were strengthened. Kamnu v'nisoidan. So wouldn't it be better, along the lines of Rabbi Leibler's question, wouldn't it be better to say, Hey, Makarv Nafol, v'nachnu loy nafalnu. Raise your hand. I don't mean that really. But in your head, raise your hand if you're such a Jew that has never fallen. Nobody here would raise his hand or her hand. Every single one of us has fallen. So it doesn't say until him, hey, we haven't fallen. It doesn't say that. Even Shlomo HaMelech went through a time in his life when he was thrown off the throne, the Gemara in Gittin, and he wasn't, the whole Tais was there, and he wasn't Shlomo HaMelech. He went around saying, Ani Shlomo, and they were laughing at him. There's no person who hasn't fallen. I remember I once heard years ago, somebody, there was I don't remember the whole background of the story, but there was something with there was an American that was in Japan or in China, I don't remember which one of those places, and he had a son that wasn't like a Gaver Rabba, was a weak person, and it was many years ago, and the father brought his son to some master of karate or something, of one of the martial arts, and he brought his son to this big master, this big Rebbe of martial arts, and he asked the old Chinese guy, can you take my son and make him into somebody, teach him, So the old master said, you have to give me your son for a year. Leave your son with me for a year, and I'll teach him. I'll make him into somebody. So the father is okay, and left the kid there for a year. And after a year, they get together, and there's this match between the old man, the master, and the kid. And the kid's coming with punches and with kicks, and every single time the old man grabs his leg and crack on the floor. Then the kid tries to punch him, grabs his arm, boom, on the floor. So the father can't take this anymore. This kid is getting slammed on the floor, one time after the other. So the father stops to say, stop screaming, stop. And the father goes over to the old man. He says, I don't understand. I gave you my son for a year, and I've just watched him been thrown down on the floor 50 times. But the old man said, really, that's what you saw? But what I saw your son getting up 50 times. That's what I saw. I saw your son getting up 50 times. Zemashu. So David HaMelech didn't say, hey, Makarv Nafalnu v'nachnu loy nafalnu. Because it's not true. Nafalnu v'nafalnu. And it's been a hard year. And there have been a lot of nefilas. Nafalnu. The difference, however, between them and us, between the other side and the side of Kedusha, is v'nachnu kamnu v'nisoidan. Have you understand what I'm saying? V'nachnu kamnu. V'nachnu kamnu. Kilo v'yakum. We just learned in Parashas Balak. Chari yisnasi, like a lion jumps back up after getting a knack. V'nachnu kamnu v'nisoidan. You know, there was such an interesting thing that happened a few weeks ago. Now, this has nothing to do with politics, but there was a very, very strange thing after Shabbos a few weeks ago. So one of my kids turned on her phone, and she started to say that they tried to kill Trump. And there was already a clip on the phone with the whole mice over there. He almost got a bullet in his head. He got hit in the ear. Now, I'm not talking about that person because he's a strange person. He's done a lot of good things, and I'm not saying that we should make any shidduchim with him, you understand. But there was something there that I was very nispal from. And I've been running it through my head. I was watching this thing that my shani showed me, and I see a guy gets grazed by a bullet. He's got blood all over his face. He's not a young guy. No, a regular person. They take him on a stretcher, right? Take him, put him into an ambulance, and so he lives, he dies, whatever it is. Now, again, I don't know what he is, who he is, but that he was able to stand up, and to start shaking his fist and screaming, fight, fight, fight. It's not bad. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. The Bali Musa have told us that man by nature is a fighting creature. The teva of a person is to be very competitive. How do you explain the fascination, let's say, with sporting events? It's a strange thing. The Olympics are still going on. I know they started. I don't know if they finished, whatever. I know it's the Olympic time. What is this fascination with sports? That you could take even people who are otherwise intelligent, mature individuals, people who think, people who read, and they'll spend hours and hours of their lives watching guys running around, like, excuse me, in their gachkas, beating each other up and throwing a ball and running after balls. And it's a strange thing, no? And in a moment of truth, we would all admit that it's a very strange obsession. I know people that are 30 years old, they still do that. They still watch these things. I'm not talking about playing ball, that's very healthy. I'm talking about people that sit around and watch ball games, and they're 40 years old, 50 years old, and they're still screaming and yelling. I remember that every year, once a year, my father would take myself and a friend of mine from the block, he would take us to a Yankee game. We were big Yankee fans. He would take us to a Yankee game. That's in those days where there were Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, it was a hush of guys. And he would take us to a Yankee, and my father always took us, he would bring us to the game. And my father sat down with the Agla manager with a Yiddish newspaper. He just read the paper. He wasn't interested at all with all the screaming, yelling. And I remember and it was exciting. I remember one time there was some gewaldige thing that happened. I don't remember, it was like a grand slam, something very big. And the whole oilum there, they weren't just screaming and yelling, everyone was standing on their chairs. So myself and my friend, I also got up on my chair. I started to scream. And I was yelling, and my father took my leg, and he pulled me down. He looked at me, he said, "What's the matter with you? What are you doing?" I said, "Daddy, there was a grand slam." He said, "Sit on your chair. What's the matter with you? You could be." My father said the words that he said it's much better in Yiddish, but what he said was, you could be an idiot on your chair too. You don't have to be an idiot jumping up. He used the word, he said like a golem. You want to be a golem sitting down. Be a golem jumping up. What is this obsession? You see from children from the time that they're young. You see brothers and sisters, brothers, sisters. You see the kind of competition, what goes on. How come he has, I don't have? You gave her this, you said that. He got, I didn't get. Everything's a milchama. From the beginning of time, Cain and Hevel, everything started off like a milchama. Milchama. All milchamas. This is the teva, this is what I'm saying. Rabbi Yucham, Rabbi Cheskel, Tzaddikim talk a lot about this inyan that people have, that human beings have, to fight, to compete, to be at war, to be in a milchama. It's a very natural quality that's woven into the fabric of mankind. To be in a perpetual state of milchama. The question is, what is it that you're fighting for? So in Parshas Balak, we learned the brachas of Bilam. Bilam wanted to curse us. And Hashem, of course, changed the curses into brachas. And one of the brachas was, Kimi roish tzurim erenu, umigvos ashurenu. Meaning that Bilam was standing over there and looking at Bnei Yisrael. And he was trying to understand, what is it about these people that makes them different? Like if somebody would come to see, what is it about Camp Hask? What is it about this place? What makes the Chevra different? What makes the Chevra here so alive? And Bilam wanted to know, what is it about these people? The world even back then couldn't figure us out. Back then they were trying to destroy us and they couldn't. And throughout all of history, B'nai Yisrael's ki sarisa. And every single time we come out more alive. I told you before, I was raised in a home by parents who lost their entire families. My parents who lived in places, who survived places called Auschwitz and Mauthausen, that I'm sure you've heard about, you've read about. Alive. And giving life. And building yeshivas. And building Beis Refuahs. Hospitals, the Klosenberger Rebbe. Susi, you heard of him? There was a very wealthy person. You know, the Klosenberger Rebbe built the Laniado Hospital. He made during the Milcham, he said if he survives, he's going to build a Jewish hospital. And he built in Netanya the Laniado Hospital. He raised the money for it. And they brought him a big, rich guy. And the rich guy said, Rebbe, I'll tell you what, I'll give this huge check, but I want your chelik in Olam Haba. You know, these kind of conversations. There's a question in halakha whether that could work. I'm not going into it now. It's a discussion in the poskim. But he said, I'll give you the check, but I want your Olam Haba. And you know what the Klosenberger said? The Klosenberger said, oh, Olam Haba. I can give you whatever Olam Haba. I can give you Olam Haba for the check. But I'll tell you what I wouldn't give you for the check. I wouldn't give you the check. I wouldn't switch places with you from those years that I was in concentration camp, where I fought every single second to say a Kriya Shema, that I didn't eat a piece of tarfus, a piece of treif once during the war. I didn't have one non-kosher thing in my mouth. I didn't put, you know what that was? I didn't put a piece of treif in my mouth the whole time of the Milchama. I wouldn't give up that time. I wouldn't switch with anybody. Because I never felt as alive as I felt during that time. I never felt as alive. So Bilam is trying to understand, what is it about Jews, how they live? What keeps them alive? Rashi says, he was a big Navi, Bilam. And it became revealed to him. He said, I look upon Reshit, the beginning of the Jewish people. He says, I look at the roots of the Jewish people. And I see that the roots are deep and strong, solid. The Jews come from Avram Avinu, from Sarah Yemenu. Become from great fighters. Become from very, very strong, powerful people. I'm not talking about weightlifters. It says about Avram Avinu, Matzah says, Levavo, Ne'eman Lefenecha. You know what it means, Emunah? You know what it means a person has Emunah? Rabbi Yuchim says that Emunah is a lashon of Ne'emanas. Ne'emanas means if you have a minyan is called for 7:30 in the morning, you're there 7:25 with your tefillin. That's called an Ish Ne'eman. Not 7:40, not 7:50, not sleeping in bed. You have a Seder in learning. An Ish Ne'eman, a soldier. Go see in the war if the soldier says, I was sorry, he says to his commanding officer, I'm sorry, I slept late. Can you imagine in the army? An Ish Ne'eman. You have a kid to take care of, you're Moshe Nefesh, you're on time, you do what you have to. That's what it means to be a soldier. And Bilam said, I see them like mountains, like rocks. Because why? They come from such people. Umatzah says, Levava Ne'eman. Emunah is a lashon of Ne'emanis. Ne'emanis means, this is my job. I'm going to do it. Nothing's going to get in my way. I'm going to work hard at this. I'll do the best I can. My job is not to be victorious. That's Hashem's inyan. It's going to come out. It's not going to come out. I'll succeed. I won't succeed. That's not my business. That's Vatuchal. That's Hashem's business. My job is Kisarisa. Fight. That's my job. And Dodemel says at the beginning of Tehillim, Vayitz kishos al pal gemayim. A tzaddik is a person who shos al pal gemayim, deep roots. You know, a wind comes, a big wind comes, and it moves the branches, it moves the leaves. It could be some apples fall down, but the roots are unbreakable. And that's what Bilam was saying. Ani mestakel b'roishisam u'b'tchila shashayim v'ani royoisam miyusodim v'chazokim ketzurim u'chigvos halolu. Chazokim yusodim. That's what it means, emunah. Because it's not just Tafshin Peidal, that's a time that's an Eis Milchama. Now we feel it's an Eis Milchama, but I'm sure that every single person in this room learned at least the first parak of Mezil Sharm. And the other Ramchal says, V'nimtza, Shumusim be'emes b'soicha milchama achazaka, ki kol inyan ha'olam ben toiv ben lera, hinehem desyonis la'odam. Because every single step of life, if you take life seriously, every single step is a milchama. How are you going to bench after this meal? How are you going to smile to a person who could use a smile? Or whether you're going to be wrapped up in yourself. Every single second. The Ramchal says, Nimsu v'humusam be'emes b'soicha milchama achazaka ki kol inyanei ha'olam ben latoy ben lera hinei nisyonos la'odam. So we make a terrible mistake. And we think that a Nisayan is some misfortune. Nisyanis are terrible. And we daven every morning after I don't want Nisyanis. Which the Mefarshim explain means, help me not to bring Nisyanis upon myself. But as far as Nisyanis that Hashem brings us in life, listen to the words I'm reading to you from the Sefer Madregas Adam. Who knows who's the author of the Sefer Madregas Adam? Who knows? Anybody know? Madregas Adam, you never heard of? It's the Alter from the Vardik. He was a very holy person. The Alter from the Vardik. He's speaking about what does it mean to be alive, to taste life. You know, people do all kinds of crazy things to taste a little bit of life. So they'll jump off mountains, parachute off mountains, all kinds of crazy things. People do. They go to all kinds of strange things. So listen to the words of the Madregas Adam. He's talking about a person who's not afraid of nisyanis, who accepts that life is a milchama, and that life is filled with nisyanis. And nisyan means, of course, challenges. And he writes the following. Ki umargish menuchas hanefesh v'simcha atzuma beis nisayin. A soldier. Now I spoke to soldiers this year. Over this whole year, I've been talking to soldiers. I've been talking to parents. I've been talking to the soldiers themselves. I was talking to a guy who lost his arm and lost a leg, and he's arguing to go back somehow and still be in the milchama. You hear this? He wants to be somehow. Even if he can't physically, he'll be in the office. He wants to be on the front. He wants to go back into the Nisayan. To be such a thing. I spoke to people like that this year. Not one, not two, more than that. That they were trying to run away from the hospital. To go back to the front. To go back into Gaza. To go back to up north. Why? So the Alter says like this. Because when you believe in what you're fighting for, and you're in that milchama, who margish menuchas hanefesh v'simcha atzuma beis nisayon, ve'eno koreis en nisayon ela chayim, ve'eno korela zen nisayon ela chayim. He doesn't call this a nisayon. He says this is being alive. I'm fighting for something I believe in. I'm a soldier of Hashem Yisbarach. I'm fighting for what I believe in. He doesn't call this nisayon. He doesn't cry about gewalt, gewalt, gewalt. This is being alive. This is what it means to be alive, to fight. And it doesn't have to be on that front. It can be to get to shul on time. It can be to overcome a nisayon. It can be when you're sitting someplace late on a Thursday night and you think nobody's watching and you try not to think that God is watching and you have your little telephone and there's something you shouldn't be looking at. That's also a big milchama. And to stop in that place and to say, no. Kisarisa. There's no feeling of being more alive than being in that struggle and that battle. And occur as any sign el chayim. Ki az moitzi kol koichosav ugvurasa yubet chayne b'Hashem min hakarach elapayil. Because at that moment he's discovering within himself koiches that he didn't know that he had. I'm sure many of you are finding out that this summer, especially the first year people, that you're finding out that you have koiches to do things that you never thought you could do. You have koiches to do things that you never thought you could do. And only through the milchama, only through the wars, the challenges, the nisyanis, do you excavate deep inside of yourself. You're forced to come to that place inside of yourself, and you find that you have koiches you never, ever, ever believed you had. And that's why, Mr. Hashem, for the chevri here, when it comes to the challenges of life, because you're all going to have milchamas. Whatever it is, in marriage, there are going to be milchamas. Raising kids, there are going to be all kinds of milchamas in life. This is a training camp. I'm not saying we're here in West Point, Chas v'Shalom. But the place of training is to overcome, to be able to overcome when you have the sour shel of something in front of you and is telling you can't do this, and you overcome, you fight against that. There's no bigger chiyas that a person has. You don't know how much your being here is changing your future lives and the lives of your children, Bez Hashem, you'll have in the Einik. All of them are being changed by what you're going through here. Tachlis achayim. Tachlis achayim. V'kol sheyasim et yoyser nisoyin, or shabon nisoyin acher b'tzifus, en amagish ze la'ol. This person doesn't feel like, oh, I can't believe it. I have to go through this again. I have to fight again. I have to get up again. I have to do this again. He doesn't feel that. He doesn't feel that it's an ol. La'adrabah. He doesn't think it's a mikra ra. La'adrabah. Oz yis'ayra kol haruach chaim shelo. Oz yis'ayra kol haruach chaim shelo. It awakens within him the whole ruach hachayim of who he is. He's alive. Anytime any of you ever had to overcome something that was very, very hard for you, and you went ahead and you did it, whether it was Sumei Rao, whether it was Asay Toiv, you never felt more alive. Even though you would think, your intuition would tell you that no, the best thing in the world is Menucha. So I want to share with you something in this little booklet that I picked up when we were in Eretz Yisrael Pesach. I just want to share this with you. With this I'll end. There's this beautiful little kuntrasel that's called the Rapayas Alev. I was in a Svarim store when I went to pay for the Svarim. They have a couple of booklets and little things over there, and I saw this. And it's based upon the teachings of Rabbi Sachs, who was a very special person. And there are interviews here. There's a lady, Sivan Meir, you know who that is? She's a very choshev, a lady that is a journalist, a frum journalist, and she does a lot of good things. And there are stories here that said, Me'ashetach. She was speaking to people that during the time of the Milchama. And I wanted to see this. We were there. It was still this is going back a few months ago. And there are many things here that I'm nispal from, but I just want to share this story with you. It's not about the Rabbi Rabun of Peshischa or the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. It's not about the Chavetz Chaim, the Chassam Sofer. It's about a lady by the name of Yael Bienenfeld. So I'm going to read to you what happened. I'll read it to you in the Ivrit, the way that they in Eretz Yisrael. And this is a little bit of a Shabbos gift for you. Listen carefully. This Yael Bienenfeld comes from the city of Lod. And she received a hoda'ah. She received, there was news, information that was coming in, and that there was something going on. And lefnei kama sha'oti kadva nishma'a azaka bizman shehayeladim hayu batei hasefer v'aganim. There was a siren that went off. I'm sure you will understand, but I'll translate anyway. There was a siren that went off, and her kids, she has little kids. They were in school and in kindergarten. Echad mi yeladai hitkasher elai bocheh. One of my kids, she's a little kid, and the kid, they let him to make a phone call, and he was crying. I mean, they took the kids into the safe room, and the kid was crying. Amar shehu nivhal. He was afraid, scary. Ubikesh she'agia lakachet oto. And he asked me, Mommy, Ima, come and get me. I'm afraid. So nisiti kol kli shani makira. I tried everything I could do, any argument, to help him from over the phone, empathia, empathy, and so on. The tagel nishimot, take deep breaths, and aval klum lo azar. But nothing helped. The kid's just crying. I want to go home. Come get me. Va'az b'havraka shel nisayon acharon. All of a sudden I had this thought. I told him the following thing. I said to my kid, this little kid, I said to him the following. Ata chelek me'am Yisrael. I'm not saying to like some 6 or 7 year old. Ata chelek me'am Yisrael. You are a chelek of Am Yisrael. Va'am Yisrael malei gvura. Now Am Yisrael, with the children of the Ovis, the Emos, Am Yisrael is malei gvura. Filled with courage, with strength. That means, since you are Chelik of Am Yisrael, it means that you also are filled with courage and with strength. That which has kept the Jewish people going and alive, all of the generations, you also have that. And then she tells the kid, I told my kid, then a pasuk from Parshas that I mentioned, from Parshas Balak. That the nation of the Jewish people is like a lion that jumps up, gets back up to fight. So she tells the kid a pasuk. Upitom mishum makom. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, b'klilut kazu, hu pashut amarli tov ima ani chazel kita. Okay, I'm okay. I'll go back to class. Because I guess the siren was done. I'll go back to class. Benitak, and he hung up. So she writes, the Sivan Meir writes like this. Hasipur hazeh hulo rak al yelad katan. This story is not just about a little kid. El al kulanu. It's about all of us. Am shalanu tzamei legadlut. Our people, our nation is thirsty for greatness. And we draw unbelievable koiches, emotional and physical strength. We draw like we just learned from Rashi, like Bilam saw from the sharashim, from the roots. Look at how Rishonim Kim White says, not like the Rishonim. The Rishonim are like chaff. The wind comes and blows it away. No, those tchunis hanefesh, those character traits that were there, this greatness that was there by our fathers and our mothers long ago, avru mehem dor achrei dor ad eleinu, have passed generation after generation to us. Hotzma hazu, this strength nimtzeit b'DNA shel kolanu, in all of our DNA. Gam im yesh ikuvim, even though there are things that are in the way, and there are delays, and there's sad news that we hear, and there's all kinds of obstacles, and we still don't see a clear way out of all of this. Gam im yesh ikuvim, gam im haderech aruka, even if it's a long path. Am Yisrael chai, ze ma shemenachem otanu, ze ma shenoten lanu koach. This is what consoles us, and this is what gives us strength. So I want to give each and every one of you a bracha. That this wonderful mother, Yael, gave to her little boy. That Hashem Yisborach should give to each of us. And I'll tell you a funny thing that happened, now it's late. I'll tell you a funny thing that happened the other night. We're in the mountains here, in a bungalow in South Fallsburg. And the other night, it was like 3 a.m, and there was this fly that was buzzing around. You ever have one of these super flies that like doesn't go away? Wouldn't go away. Just kept on attacking. It took but first to my wife, then to me, then my wife, and was going back. Bzzz, crazy. And you try all kinds of stuff, and this fly is not going anywhere. And finally, at some point, my wife said to me, Moshe, you have to get him. You have to get him. So it was like 3 a.m, and I was hoping to go the whole night, just like that, But my wife said, no, yeah, Moshe, this is war, This is a big milchama. This is the war of South Fallsburg, 2024. So we have a 69-cent fly swatter from 40, 50 years ago. And I go to get the fly swatter. So what do you think, Heather? I got up on the bed. It finally stopped over there, high up on the window shade. With one fell swoop, I got him. Yeah, I got him. So I said to my wife, no, guys, you can go to sleep. And I go to and I lie down and I start laughing. My wife says, "What's with you?" I said, "This is the milchama of Moshe Weinberger 2024. I got my brothers and sisters are in Gaza, and I'm standing on a bed swatting flies. This is our big milchama. Let's remember, Chavre, there's a big milchama going on, and it's not swatting flies. We have to keep on fighting, each one of you, in your own war. Only Hashem is about your war, your milchamas. Whatever your milchama is, be a soldier, be strong, fight. The day is going to come, Hashem is going to say to us, Vatuchal, Chavre, it's over, you have won. Come home to Yerushalayim, it's time for the Gula Hashem V'Amitis, you should be Mehev Yamein Amen V'Amen.
Father goes to you, sure. He said I should introduce him.
Who's your father?
Aaron Rosen. He said he didn't have the time to introduce himself, but he loves your show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry it took long.